Now, I've been meaning to put together something in relation to the upcoming KOTOR Remake, and I think a good place to start is to take a rather nuanced look into what we might expect to see as it relates to combat mechanics within the game. Also, how all that might translate in a way fans can expect. So if you're interested in understanding more about that, go ahead and strap yourself in because, well, we're just going to dive right in. Now, as a variety of you may know, it has been rumored by Maddie Plays that the game will be drawing inspiration from God of War's combat system. While this was a game I thoroughly enjoyed, it certainly would not be my first pick or thought for what would make sense for the KOTOR Remake. In fact, the game that specifically comes to mind for me would be Final Fantasy VII Remake, simply because it's the most recent success formula developed following this transition into a hybrid style between real action combat and turn-based elements centralized around a three-party system. So I feel this is definitely a formula Aspyr will look to follow outside of anything else. Yet, if they are looking to draw from God of War, then the system itself would certainly be different in a variety of ways, more so than anything we've seen from the past for this particular style of genre. And given that I beat the crap out of this game pretty thoroughly back in 2018 on the hardest difficulty, I feel I'm at least decently suited to run you through how things may look from that perspective should they go this route. And the first major difference that we would probably see if the rumor happens to be true is that we're probably looking at a system then where you would need to physically aim to shoot targets for ranged characters you happen to control. So in a sense, it may feel somewhat like a dumbed down version of a third-person shooter from that regard. And they may even possibly transition the lightsaber throw ability from a Jedi power to a real-time combat action you can perform at your own leisure, no different than Kratos does with the Leviathan axe. And if they do choose to follow this formula, each character may have separate weapon stances to select from that can seamlessly be switched via left or right on the D-pad that come with their own unique advantages and allocated abilities. In fact, by the end of the game in God of War, there are three forms in particular Kratos has at his disposal, between his Leviathan axe, his Blades of Chaos, and just unarmed combat. So how this may look for KOTOR as an example is that a double-bladed lightsaber may be a particular weapon stance which works great on multiple targets, while another may be dual-wielding sabers which are best suited for single-target DPS. And if this were the case, I assume they would also have a single sword option perhaps best suited for boss fights and defensive purposes. Now if they do go this route, then you could certainly expect blocking to be a thing, so the shield Kratos utilizes for this purpose may turn out to be an energy shield players activate within combat to ward incoming damage. And we may also see something incorporated along the lines of a limit break from Final Fantasy VII, however a main difference being that you would fully control your character during this process as opposed to having it be a predetermined animated sequence. Now if they do try to go about incorporating a model like this into a hybrid system, then each ability like Flurry Strike or Rapid Shot would come with its own unique activation sequence and designated cooldown duration as opposed to in Final Fantasy VII Remake as an example, where a sole ATB meter influences the player's ability to select actions from a range of different options. So each ability would probably be pre-assigned to a specific slot via the menu, which all may display in the bottom left corner of the HUD like it does here while holding down the L1 button. While two of these three abilities are assigned to a particular offensive stance, there is one that remains the same regardless of which stance you choose, so this could potentially be a Jedi power or something like that. Now if they do build this out into a hybrid system, then they clearly need to develop additional mechanics that go beyond what's utilized in just God of War. And for starters here, they'll need to allow players to seamlessly switch between Revan and his companions for something like this, even to make sense for fans at all, in my opinion, which is certainly not something you can do between Kratos and his son in at least this version of God of War from 2018. Next, if they want the game to be positively received, again in my opinion, then they'll also want to provide players with the capability to drastically slow time or freeze it altogether on a whim, no different than in the original game. Oh, and if they plan on maintaining stealth as a skill, which I think they obviously should, then they'll need to create their own system entirely for that, which would involve programming awareness levels within the AI for every NPC that dictates their ability to detect your character both within and while outside combat. And let's not forget about demolitions or first aid either, assuming characters will be able to throw grenades or utilize medpacks while in combat. And this is something minor, but they'll need to provide a way to utilize these things as separate actions as well. And of course, there's only so much real estate on a controller. But either way, whether or not certain rumors hold up to be true, what approach would you like to see Aspyr take from a combat standpoint for the upcoming remake? Feel free to share your thoughts down in the comments. And if you enjoyed the content, be sure to leave a like and don't forget to subscribe for more on KOTOR and other Star Wars videos. This has been Mike. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.